friends, foes, other watchers on the internet, my name is Matt, you're watching Hogwa5h Gaming, and today we are going to be taking a look at a game that I've been sent to review, Sugarworks. Now, Sugarworks is brought to us by Through the Ash. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go over my first impressions, then I'm going to go over my experience playing the game, and then I'm going to go over the pros, what I liked about the game, the cons, because it has to be balanced. I can't just gush over a game I enjoy. I have to pull out something so I'm not biased and you guys can't say I'm a bootlicker or something like that. And then I'm going to go over the final assessment. So let's get started with first impressions. Now, Sugarworks is a game where it's kind of like a computer program in some ways. It's very fun to play around with, and as the interactions happen and as you're laying down tiles on the board, it changes the route of the candies and they interact more or less depending on how you deal with it, and I think that's really cool, but it's not as complex as all of that sounds. When I first looked at it, I was like, oh, I don't know if I can understand this, but it came very quickly, very quickly. Another thing is because there was so much chaos in the game, I was like, I don't know if any candy is going to get from one side of the board to the other. It's all just going to fall off the conveyors and be lost. That didn't happen as much as I thought it would. There was lost candy, and I think one would be hard-pressed to make a run with no candy being lost whatsoever, but it might be a thing that might be possible. Alright, so moving on to my experience. Now, my experience of playing the game, I played two versions, and there are many, many versions of how to play this game, and I'll talk about that later. But the versions I played were the competitive basic game and the basic cooperative. I played with a friend and we tried it against each other and we played playing together. The co-op version of the game is also the solo version, so I got a good taste of that as well. So for the competitive, I found it was good. A little more thinking as far as trying to figure out what does my opponent want to do, what am I trying to do. A lot of my preferences for gameplay is if it's different every time, then I like it usually. And I see this game as being something that has that potential. No, a solid game, really well designed, it flows, it's not difficult to pick up, like I said. It's reminiscent of Ticket to Ride if half of Ticket to Ride was automated. Yeah, that's the closest game that I can think of that people may be familiar with. If you wanted to talk them into playing this game, just say it's like Ticket to Ride in some aspects. I think it's simpler and easier, and even competitive, it doesn't get as hot-headed as Ticket to Ride can get. It's a rather chill game and a fast game. The game, our turns went so fast, and I'll talk about that in a bit. Alright, so cooperative. I have not even a dislike for cooperative board games, but it has to be the right type of board game, and this is that type of board game. It moves fast, decisions have to be made amongst the players, but the discussion aspect of it makes it like so much easier to make your decisions than in competitive, because competitive, you're not sure what the person after you is going to do. You're not sure if what you do on your turn will make a heck of a difference later in the game because someone might undo what you're trying to do. In cooperative, everything that you plan and talk about, it streamlines everything. There's a lot less candy wasted. There's a little bit of candy wasted, but a lot less because people actually are trying to do the same thing, and I think it's fantastic. I think it's a really, really good version of the game to play. I think that it really worked. Our final score was smack dab in the middle of the charts. We were not fantastic, blow your socks off good at the game, and we weren't horrible at the game either. We were right in the middle. So I like the cooperative and solo better than the competitive, but that might change with more plays. But I think the cooperative really worked. So what I'm going to do now is move on to the pros and the cons. I have a lot of pros. First off, it's got fun gaming dynamics. Watching the game respond to your choices, and then responding to the game's response, and then watching the game respond to you is always satisfying, because board games are not computer games, and computer games have video games in general have the advantage of responding back, and this board game has that aspect to it, so I really enjoy that. Secondly, and I probably should have led with this, the pieces are beautiful. The candy pieces make you feel like you're holding candy. In fact, if they made transparent plastic pieces, the friend that I worked on this with, as far as the review goes, he said if they were any more real, then they would get in trouble for people wanting to eat the candy. The candy is beautiful, it's identifiable, and it feels good in your hands, and really well made. Really like that. Thirdly, and this is something that I've mentioned before, there are a lot of versions on how to play this game. We played the basic cooperative, we played the basic competitive, but there was so much more in this book, and I wanted to try more, but we would have been playing over and over and over because there were just so many versions. And what's also kind of cool is some versions can mix together to make other versions. Like, they have a thing called Lucy mode where, and without giving away exactly how it works, one of the aspects is, like in that episode of I Love Lucy, if things start falling off of the conveyors, you can eat them. So you can take them out of the lost pile, which gets rid of dead cards, which is something that I will talk about in the cons section of this video. But yeah, being able to take aspects of the game and change it slightly and then add that to another version that's in the book, like I say, I like a lot of variation and a lot of difference in games, and the fact that they have so many different ways to play, both making it easier and making it more advanced. I didn't even get to the advanced. Even in the tutorial that I made, I didn't even mention the advanced cards because there was just so many things to cover. And honestly, I'm not even sure they're in their final stages. There's a lot of art that they're talking about adding during the Kickstarter. Oh, by the way, link in the description. I will mention that again at the end of this video. But yeah, so for the Kickstarter coming up, who knows what else they're going to be adding. Kickstarters usually are like, oh, we're going to add this dynamic if we reach a level of interest here. So yeah, I'm pretty excited for what comes out of the Kickstarter, and yeah, I can't talk about just how much there is to this game because there's a lot, and there's probably going to be more. Alright, moving on to the cons. Now, I really like this game, so finding things that are bad about it is pretty hard. But I have to bring up something, or else you'll think that I'm being very biased in my opinion of this game. Yeah, so first off, they say on the box, typically, how long a game is supposed to last. And this says 30 minutes to 45 minutes. Maybe if you're playing with 4 players, it'll take that long. 2 players who know how, or who have figured out how the game works, can get a game done in less time, I believe. That was my opinion during gameplay. It was like, wow, this is fast and the game's over now. Whoa, what happened? Take that as you will. Maybe we're just playing way too fast and we should really be thinking about what we're doing, and maybe we'll score higher. I don't know. It just seemed really fast, but I think the game's a little too short in my opinion. Secondly, and this is something that my buddy mentioned, I didn't think it was that big of a deal, especially in co-op, and he agrees, co-op takes care of this right away. But one of the order actions you can do is discarding a face-up card and replacing it in the order market. And he felt like that was throwing away an action. Like, who would do that ever? And I disagree to a point, but I understand where he's coming from. It doesn't really benefit you, really, to change the state of the face-up cards if you don't get to draw from that. It just makes it easier for the next person to play. Now, if you're the last person on that round, and then the conveyors go, and then it's your turn because you become first player after that, maybe you could gamify it a little bit there. So that's why I'm not too convinced that it's an issue. But by changing what one of the orders is, it really doesn't change anything in that regard. As far as, does it benefit you? No, it doesn't. Now, co-op, it's fine because you're both working together, or you're all working together trying to find the best orders to have out. So maybe this one is not worth pursuing, so we flip to the next one, and Bob's your uncle, there you go. Alright, this one is something that I thought was a little rough. It is taken care of in the Lucy mode, but there are order cards that say none of this candy can be lost. And I think that's fine. I think that adds a layer of challenge to the game. But if it's a face-up card, or if you draw it, and there's already candy of that type in the lost pile, or the lost section, you are out of luck. It's a dead card. And Lucy mode makes it so you can take candies out of the lost section, but in normal play, if those cards ever show up and they're already done, well, it's a dead card. And as my friend says, you don't want to flip that over for your opponent. So they are still working on, clarifying things and making things work. And I think you're going to get a fantastic product if you support this on Kickstarter or buy it in a store or whatever's going to happen. However you're going to get this. It's a great family game. It's very accessible for pretty young people. They say ages 14 and up. I think a 6-year-old could rock this game. It's a great game, and I wish I could hold on to it longer before sending it off to the next reviewer, but I've got to wait just like you guys to get my copy. So, thank you for watching. This is Hogwash. Hope you have a great day, and I'll catch you later.